5 myths about motorcycles. Myth 5. Don't use the front brake. If the front brakes were not to be used, why would a manufacturer put brakes on the front in the first place? Many modern bikes have 2 calipers in the front and only 1 in the back. Paranoia about front brakes comes from never having a bike with a decent front brake equipped. Here's the physics. The bike tends to lean at the rear and lightens the front forks when you accelerate hard. If you do it really hard, you go into a wheelie. The opposite happens when you brake. The front compresses and the back lightens up. So like some older riders, you only use the rear brake, but you don't get all that much braking power, and you likely have to ease up on the rear brake or the back wheel locks up and slides. And that's not a good thing, because once it slides, it goes sideways and you release the brake and the bike will toss you off, right? They call that a high side. Using only the back is a bad idea. Don't be one of those people who buy into one of the oldest motorcycle myths. If the front brake wasn't meant to be used, your bike wouldn't come equipped with it, would it? The front brake is about 70% of braking on any wheeled vehicle. On pavement, should use both brakes if you want to stop quickly. Using rear brake only makes your stopping distance much longer. If you don't have ABS, using the front brake well takes practice, but you will learn to use it. Now, there are some limited circumstances where you may want to use only the rear brake. Namely, if you're going very slowly, maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour, or maybe you are on loose dirt. Myth 4. It's safer not to wear a helmet. Helmets do not significantly impair hearing ability or peripheral vision. A study by the U.S. Department of Transportation found that no significant difference was found between a rider's ability to hear traffic, either between helmet types or between helmet and no helmet. For any given speed, helmets did not reduce, nor did they enhance hearing. The vision test showed that the minimal amount of the lateral vision that is sacrificed by wearing a helmet can easily be made up by turning the head a little bit further. For most riders, helmet use did not result in a significant loss in the ability to see traffic in the time required to check for traffic. Any negative effects of helmets on rider vision appears to be very minor, especially in comparison to the protection offered by helmets should a crash occur. Myth 3. Loud pipes give more power. Some people believe drag pipes or an open exhaust are the best performing. A drag pipe or an exhaust system with no baffling may be the least restrictive and possibly result in a few more horsepower at the very top of your RPM range, but they are not the best performing pipes outside a drag strip. They are not the best choice for your street bike. Premier companies like Vance and Heinz and S&S Cycle and others have spent over 40 years perfecting pipe design and baffling to get the best performance out of your street bike. Pipes with baffles perform best in the mid-range because they give you more horsepower and torque in the middle of the RPM band where you spend most of your time riding rather than being at the red line. Myth 2. You don't need a helmet for a short trip. When traveling short distances, some feel they are less likely to have a crash because it's only a short amount of time, right? As a result, they don't feel the need to wear a helmet for short trips. Research indicates that most motorcycle accidents involve a short trip, and they're associated with shopping, meeting friends, or other recreation. An accident is likely to happen in very short time space close to the trip origin. Whether it's a short trip or a long distance trip, helmets do save lives and the statistic supports it. So the take home is always wear your helmet. Myth 1. A Sportster isn't a real Harley. The bigger is better attitude seems to be part of Harley culture. Sportster are one of the most fun bikes that Harley-Davidson ever made. However, Many feel like it's just a beginner bike, and you should upgrade to a bigger, faster bike as soon as possible. But let's look at some simple math here. A twin cam street glide weighs around 850 pounds, and the stock 103 motor puts out around 70 horsepower at the rear for a ratio of about 11 pounds per horsepower. If we're in a giving mood. However, an Evo 1200cc Sportster weighs in about 520 pounds stock and puts out around 55 horsepower. That results in a ratio of about 9.5 pounds per horsepower. So when you thumb your nose at the Sporty while sitting at the stoplight in your big bagger, the Sporty may just beat you to the next stoplight.